Hello, all. Oh, wow. Daniel already. I'm just first thing got to say hello. It's me, the old geek. It's Friday. That means it's me reading books, you chatting, making decisions, and hopefully just chilling a little bit. So, hello, Daniel, and thank you for this already. Thank you for this already. You're out doing something energetic, something healthy. Fair play. Fair play. No problem with that at all. Hello, Straw Piglet. Hello, Iman Qureshi. Hello, Grumpy Old Slan. Hello, Wayne's World of Science and Technology. Hello, Major's Musings. Hello, Gene from Inksplat Records. Nice to see you all. Nice to see you. I'm just going to mute my phone in case it goes bzzz at any point. That's going over there, out the way. Hello, Thief Keith. You were just yelling at me on Discord chat, were you? Yeah, I was away from my computer for a few minutes. Yeah. So, yeah. This is what I've got for tonight. Have a look at that. Have a look at the size of that. And look at the name of the artist. What a magnificent name. Yes. Yes. All right. There are a few small differences with this book. What pun where? Oh, Iman. Oh. Yeah. That sort of thing. It's sadly it's called life. I was 26 when I met my wife, and I'd left a trail of failures in my wake over the 10 years before that. So, yeah, it's called life, and life can be a bit crappy sometimes. A pained response to pun. Let's try and find a pun. Break out the steaks and garlic. A trail of broken heart. Well, no, not really. Most of them ditched me for being a bit of a waste of space. I was described by at least two of them as being a good friend, a terrible boyfriend. Oh well, such is life. Such is life. I've never read the Dracula tapes. I don't read many books unless they're game related. It's doing this sort of thing that's got me reading again, because it's got me sort of half concentrating, half interacting, and I don't have the best of concentration normally. So this all helps me get back into reading, having a chat and everything. Anyhow, there are a few differences between this and the fighting fantasy books. We have some different stats. We have an agility score, a combat score, endurance, which is same as health in fighting fantasy. We have an ESP score. We have a terror score. We have a blood score. We have an ability called the pen is mightier, which means there are 3 times we can say, nope, we're not fighting that, we're running away. And that's basically it. And in combat, if there is a tie, there's a 50-50 chance of both parties hurting each other, and there is an initiative to combat. And if you have the initiative, you have an advantage of +1 on all combat rounds. Those are the main differences. Yeah, I guess, Iman, that is a bit of a crucial thing. and it's a hard one to get past. We can play as... I'll come to the characters in a moment. One thing that me and my wife agreed on is that we both wanted kids. She initially wanted 4. I was happy with any number of healthy kids, however many happened. And when we'd had our first 2, one girl came first, then a boy, we decided that was enough. So, which is fair. We've done our bit for the human race. We've produced one of each. They're healthy, and that's what matters. But yeah, you've got to find somebody who wants the same. Right. Okay, so the question, are we the vampire in this book? We can be, but I'm going to say the first playthrough, no. There are 4 characters in the book, all play differently. There are... you can play as Jonathan Harker, which is what we'll be playing as to start with. You can play as his girlfriend, Mina, or you could play as Dr. John Seward. And there's also Count Dracula himself. And the blood character score affects how strong Dracula becomes as the adventure goes on. So, yes. Lots of good artwork anyway. Let's just show off the front cover art. Look at that. And the name of the artist again. Ha 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 ha. Oh, if my name was Cock, I'd have it changed. At least his name's not Richard. Here's the thing, though. I know over in America, there is a popular male Christian name called Randy. And you might be aware that Randy in Britain means sex. So if his name was Randy Cock, that'd be very interesting. And I always find it funny when I watch the NFL and there's a kicker called Randy Bullock, because that just means young male cow interested in sex. Yeah. So why do you call your kids Randy? If it means that there as well, why call them Randy? Yeah, this is my lad. His name is Puts It About a Bit. You can't be Van Helsing. No, you can't be Van Helsing. We'll play Dracula on a later run through, I think. I think there is the opportunity to play multiple characters at the same time. We can... it's a short... It's like Dick being a shortened form of Richard. Yes. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to read the introduction from the back. 1897. In the wolf-haunted Carpathian Mountains, a young solicitor, Jonathan Harker, travels to an isolated castle to assist a mysterious count with purchasing a number of properties in England. But what he witnesses there drives him to the edge of madness. Meanwhile, in Whitby, Harker's fiancée, Mina Murray, visits her dear friend Lucy Westenra. But during her stay, Lucy is attacked and becomes seriously ill. In London, Lucy's suitor and physician, Dr. John Seward, becomes preoccupied with the case of a certain Mr. Renfelt, an inmate at his lunatic asylum, who seeks to collect lives for his master, having not long returned from a trip to Transylvania. So the pieces for the game are set in a plan devised centuries ago by the voivod of Wallachia, Vlad Tepes, a cruel tyrant whom history remembers as the son of the devil, his bloodthirsty deeds having earned him another nickname, Dracula. Marvelous. Right, so we are Jonathan Harker. That is us. Okay, those are our stats. See them? And Jonathan Harker has not long qualified as a solicitor and has recently taken a junior position at the firm of Hawkins, Oldman and Lee in the English city of Exeter in Devon. He is hardworking and has a meticulous eye for detail. He is engaged to Miss Mina Murray. Whenever we read anything that's got a cross icon beneath its section number, rather than read that section, we have to move 10 spaces forward and read 10 sections on. Oh, those yellow cans. It's camping gas for our Christmas holiday. Summer holiday. We go camping during the summer, and my wife has invested in a load of camping gas for that. So yes, we're off to Cornwall this year. We usually go to Wales. We couldn't get onto our regular campsite, so we're going down to Cornwall. No, camping's not fun. Coldest I've ever been camping was in April one year, and we had frost on the ground, and it was coming through the ground sheet and the thin mattress thing I was sleeping of the tent. I got no sleep and had to drive a rally car the next day, and our wheel fell off. Okay. Dracula, Curse of the Vampire. Do not tarry, for the dead travel fast. If you're playing as Jonathan Harker, turn to 1. No, I would not camp at minus 20 degrees. Jonathan Harker's journal, 30th of April, 1897. When we started for our drive, the sun was shining brightly on Munich, and the air was full of the joyousness of early summer. Pardon me. Having arrived in the Bavarian capital of Munich, with a day to spare before your train departs for Bistritz in the region of Transylvania, you decide to make the most of your enforced sojourn and instruct Herr Delbruck, the maitre d'hotel of the Quatre Saisons where you're staying, to hire a carriage so that you might go for a drive in the surrounding countryside, it being such a glorious day. Herr Delbruck does as you ask, and just as you are about to depart, comes down to the carriage and wishes you a pleasant drive. His hand still on the handle of the carriage door, he says to the coachman, "Johann, remember you are back by nightfall. The sky looks bright, but there is a shiver in the north wall that says there may be a sudden storm. But I'm sure you will not be late." He smiles before adding, "For you know what night it is." Johann answers with an empathetic. So we try that again. Johann answers with an emphatic, put me reading eyes on, "Ja, mein Herr," and touching his hat, drives off quickly. Okay, so emphatic, yes, emphatic. If you want to ask the coachman what is so special about tonight, let me know. If you don't want to ask him, let me know. So ask or don't ask. That's your first choice. Coldest I've ever experienced is when I went skiing with the school. It was late March or early April, and we went up in the Alps. And when we were competent at skiing, the instructor took us to the highest glacier. And bugger me, it was cold up there. I don't know what the temperature was, but that was cold. That was cold. Skiing on sheet ice. Yeah, it had all been powder snow and soft snow until then, but that was sheet ice. What is so special about tonight? Okay. Everyone wants to, yeah, of course. Is the master having an affair? When you are clear of the town, you signal the driver to stop. Tell me, Johann, you say, when you have the coachman's full attention, what is tonight? He crosses himself before answering, Walpurgisnacht. Taking out his watch, a great old-fashioned German silver thing as big as a turnip, he looks at it, with his eyebrows gathered together and an impatient shrug of his shoulders, clearly unhappy about this unnecessary delay. If you want to press him to tell you more about this Walpurgisnacht, let me know, or shall we just proceed? So press him for more info or just motion to proceed? It would have been in a cold place, I guess, Palmetto. Once played a game of cricket in a hailstorm. For some reason, the captains didn't want to go off. We kept on playing. That was cold. Try catching a cricket ball in a hailstorm. Twisted Tilly. Press him for more info. Okay, come on then. Takes us to 63. There are 1,000 entries in this book. Some will only be applicable to certain characters, but Johann shakes his head, clearly unwilling to divulge any more. But you are insistent. Through a combination of the coachman's broken English and your little knowledge of German, you learn that, according to the belief of millions of people, Walpurgisnacht is when the devil walks abroad, when graves open and the dead come forth from them and walk. It is a time when all evil things of earth and air and water hold their revels. Seeing the terrified look on the coachman's face as he shares what he knows of this accursed night with you leaves you feeling unnerved. Oh, right. Okay. Tick off. Oh, I've got to add 1 terror point to our score and tick off the code word. Oh, okay. There are code words as we learn about them. So we have got the code word superstition. Wishing that you had paid more heed to the old adage, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, you instruct Johann to drive on. I think this book could be good. I really do. Hello, Justin. Johann urges the horses forwards, and the carriage bounces over the rutted road. Every now and then, horses throw up their heads and sniff the air suspiciously, causing you to scan the countryside. You are passing through... Excuse me. I will be burping a bit tonight. Causing you to scan the countryside you are passing through for any sign of what may have startled them. But there is nothing there, at least not anything that you can see. The road is quite bleak, for you are traversing a high, windswept plateau. As you drive, you catch sight of a road that appears little used and which dips through a winding valley. It looks so inviting that you call Johann to stop. And when he has pulled up, you tell him you would like to drive down that road. Kill the coachman, ride like the Dickens in the other direction. Not an option. Not an option. The coachman starts to make all sorts of excuses and frequently crosses himself as he speaks, as well as looking at his watch, as if in protest. Then the horses start to become restless again, their nostrils flaring as if they could smell something unpleasant on the breeze, and Johann grows pale. Jumping down, he takes the frightened animals by the bridles and leads them on some 20 feet. We have another option. Ask Johann what has spooked the horses, or prefer not to ask Johann. Ask him or not ask him again. So it's playing out as the novel does, but I'm guessing they've changed the writing style and that sort of stuff. And there will be twists, obviously, because there will be dice involved. Straw Piglet doesn't want to know. Everybody else does. It's first playthrough, so you have to learn a few things, don't you? Option C, piss off back to England. Yes, so far the writing style is pretty decent. Yeah. I'm being bothered by a fly again. Okay. I think we're going to ask him. I think we're going to, because all votes bar one have been voting to ask, and people are being quiet. Probably sat in their car or whatever. Just don't say werewolves. What's wrong with saying werewolves? 122. For an answer, Johann crosses himself again, points to the spot you have just left, and then to a wooden cross set up at the road junction. Buried him in what killed themselves. You've heard the old custom of burying suicides at crossroads, but for the life of you cannot understand why that would frighten the horses. Code word suicide. Okay. This is going to be a very happy book, isn't it? It's a very, very happy book. Justin, you haven't seen the front cover. There we go. There we go. Yes. 154. Oh, there are some long passages to read, and I'm guessing a lot of these long ones are during the introduction. This is a long one, so settle in. Well, Johann, I want to go down this road, you tell the coachman as you exit the carriage. I shall not ask you to come unless you like, but tell me why you do not like to go. That is all I ask. At that, he stretches out his hands appealingly to you and implores you not to go. There's just enough English mixed in with the German for you to follow the drift of his talk. He seems on the verge of telling you something, the very idea of which evidently frightens him, but he pulls himself up, saying simply, Walpurgisnacht. You suddenly hear a sound, somewhere between a yelp and a bark. It comes from far off, but it upsets the horses nonetheless, and it takes all Johann's skill to quieten them again. That sounded like a wolf, you say. Yes, there are no wolves here, Johann replies, his face pale. Is it a long time since the wolves were so near the city, you ask? Long, the coachman answers. In the spring and summer, but with the snow, the wolves have not been here so long. As Johann struggles to calm the horses, dark clouds rapidly cross the sky. The sunshine passes away and a breath of cold wind teases at your hair and clothes. But it proves to be only a breath, a warning of worse weather to come, perhaps. For once the clouds have passed, the sun comes out brightly again. Johann squints as he gazes at the horizon. The storm of snow. He comes before long time, he grumbles. Then he checks his watch, and keeping a tight hold of the horse's reins, climbs into the driver's box. You do not immediately get back into the carriage. Tell me about the place where this road leads, you say. Johann crosses himself yet again and mumbles a prayer before answering. It is unholy. What is? The village. There is a village? No. No one lives there hundreds of years. But you said there was a village, you persist. Yes, was. So, where is it now? Whereupon the coachman embarks upon a long story in both German and English, so mixed up you struggle to understand exactly what he is saying. As far as you can tell, hundreds of years ago, much of the populace had died there and had been buried in their graves. But sounds were heard under the clay, and when the graves were opened, men and women were found rosy with life, their mouths red with blood. And so, in haste to save their lives and their souls, those who were left fled to other places, to where the dead were dead, and not something else. Johann is evidently afraid to speak the last words. In fact, he is in a perfect paroxysm of fear. White-faced, perspiring, trembling, and looking around constantly, as if expecting some dreadful presence to manifest itself there, in the bright sunshine on the open plain. Finally, in agonized desperation, he cries, Walpurgisnacht, and points to the carriage for you to get in. Your English blood rises at this, and standing back, you say, You are afraid, Johann. Go home. I shall return alone. The walk will do me good. Taking your oak walking stick and closing the carriage door, pointing back to the city, you say, Go home, Johann. Walpurgisnacht does not concern Englishmen. There's nothing the poor fellow can do to dissuade you from the course of action you've decided upon, and so, with a despairing gesture, he turns the horses towards Munich. Do you want to watch him depart to make sure he does as you have bidden, or will you set off down the winding road into the valley? So watch him depart, or set off down the winding road. Hello, brave, said Gecko. How are you doing? We do indeed have balls of steel. We are properly hard. Not in that sense. Set off, watch, set off, watch, watch, watch. So 3 set off, 1, 2, 3, 4 for watching. Keep your votes coming, chaps. Any more votes? Watching's winning at the moment, but only 4-3. Give you until I've poured my next drink. I'm not on any booze tonight. Had a few more gut aches recently, so I'm just taking it easy. And I do find that fizzy pop actually helps. Well, I'm burping a fair bit. $5-4 for watching at the moment. 5-4 for watching. If anyone's watching who was due to play in last night's game, I do apologise for having something come up and having to cancel. I did give you 2 or 3 days warning. I'm not going to miss my daughter's last league game of the season. Their chance to go unbeaten in the league. Yes, they lost in the cup last Sunday against a very, very good team. But their record in the league, played 22, won 22. Goal difference of, I think it's plus 129. I was going to go and watch that. And last night's game was against the second place team, who everybody in the league dislikes, and we beat them 6-0. So it was worth going. So we are watching. Watching has won narrowly. Now, we lost the cup final last week 4-1. We took a 1-0 lead very early on. They equalised with a penalty just before half time, and then they straight after half time, they came out very, very strong, dominated for about 20 minutes, and that was enough. They went 3-1 up, which meant we had to press forward. We were then the better team for the last 20 minutes, but we were having to risk everything, and they caught us on the break right at the end to score their fourth goal. Fair result would have been 2-1 to the opponents. They were the better side over the balance of the game, but we had periods in the game where we were better. So 2-1 or 3-2, something like that would have been a fair result. 4-1 was a bit unfair. Her team was in the Ladies FA Cup. They made it into the second round. She was in the squad for the first round game. I don't know, was it the first round? Was it the first round they got through to? They had to go through the qualifying rounds. She played in one of those because she spent most of the season with the reserves. She played in one of the qualifying games because they have to go through three qualifying rounds, and then they go to the FA Cup proper. And I can't remember where they got to the first. I think they might have made it to the second. They went out to Norwich. Norwich City beat them in the FA Cup. So fairly good effort. She plays. She's an attacking midfielder. Normally plays the number 8 position, so right-sided midfielder. Sometimes plays the number 10, just behind the centre forward. She was a striker in previous seasons, but she's dropped back because she's better at winning the ball and passing the ball than she is at scoring the goals. But it's as simple as that. She does score goals, but she's got a better touch. She's the sort of player you want to have crossing the ball. Well, next season they will be in a new division, and she mostly plays for the reserves because she's 18 still. And also in the division next season are Leicester City reserves, Wolverhampton Wanderers reserves, Stoke City reserves, Nottingham Forest reserves, West Brom reserves. So that's the caliber of the sides they'll be playing next year. Hello, Hunger. Right, so we're going to watch him to make sure he does as we've said. I mean, yes, she's played 5 or 6 times for the first team this season and about 20 times for the reserves. So she's mostly in the reserves. And when she is picked for the first team, she's a substitute. But she's vice captain of the reserve team, and she's created more goals for anyone in the team than anybody else through her crossing and her passing. So that's good. Right, okay. We're watching. Leaning on your stick, you watch Johan leave. He drives slowly along the road for a while, but then you catch sight of a figure coming over the crest of the hill. A man tall and thin. When he draws near the horses, they begin to jump and kick about, and even to whinny in terror. Johan is clearly unable to hold them, and they bolt down the road, fleeing this place at a mad run. You watch, concerned for the coachman, until the carriage passes out of sight, and then look for the stranger again. But he too has gone. There's something unnerving about the man's sudden appearance and subsequent disappearance. Add 1 point to your terror score and turn to 209. Turning down the side road, you head through the deepening valley. You do not see any reason for the coachman's objection to the route and walk for a couple of hours without having any care of the time or distance covered, and without seeing a single person or even a house. This place is desolation itself. Hello, squirrel. And then, on turning a bend in the road, you come upon a scattered fringe of woodland. You sit down to take a moment's rest and begin to look around. It suddenly strikes you how much colder it is now than at the commencement of your walk, and something like a strange sighing sound that seems to come from all around you is your constant companion. Thick clouds are massing in the sky overhead, and sensing that a storm is coming, you resume your journey. Having lost all track of time, it is only when the deepening twilight forces itself upon you that you begin to consider how you might find your way back to the Quatre Saisons. The air is cold, and a sound is carried on the wind, not unlike the mysterious cry you thought was made by a wolf, and for a moment you hesitate. Do you want to retrace your steps back along the road that brought you into the valley? Or would you like to press on, determined to at least see the deserted village, having walked all this way? So, retrace our steps or press on. Those are your choices. She wishes she was like Kevin De Bruyne. Yes, I sense something here. Sense something in my bones. It wasn't like a mad thing. Well, Wayne wants to get the hell out of there, but everyone else wants to press on. So we're pressing on. Presently, we come to a wide stretch of open country, shut in by the hills all around. Their sides are covered with trees, which spread down to the plain, dotting in clumps the gentler slopes and hollows that are visible here and there. The winding road curves close to the densest of these thickets before vanishing behind it. And then the snow begins to fall. Thinking of the miles and miles of bleak country you have passed, you hurry on, seeking shelter in the wood. Darker and darker grows the sky while the snow falls faster and heavier until the ground all around you is glistening as a glistening white carpet, the furthest edge of which is lost in misty vagueness. In only a little while you realize that you must have strayed from the road, for you miss the hard surface underfoot and your feet sink deeper into the snow. The wind grows stronger, the air becomes icy cold, and in spite of your exertions, you begin to suffer its ill effects. Deduct 2 points from your endurance score. Okay. The snow is falling thickly and whirling around you in rapid eddies so that you can barely see your hand in front of your face, while every now and again the heavens are torn asunder by vivid lightning. In the flashes, you can see ahead of you a great mass of trees, chiefly yew and cypress, all heavily coated with snow. As soon as you're in the shelter of the trees, the rush of the wind is muffled by their snow-bent boughs. You realize that the darkness of the storm has merged with the darkness of the night. As the storm dies down, you hear the weird wolf sound again, which is now echoed by many similar sounds that come from all around you. Add another point to your terror score. With terror, every so often ask you to make terror checks. You roll 4d6. You fail if you roll higher. We're currently on 3 terror. But hello, crafting gamer. Now and again, another quite long piece here. Now and again, a straggling ray of moonlight pierces the black mass of drifting cloud, lighting up your surroundings with its otherworldly monochrome luminescence. Skirting the edge of the copse, you find that a low wall encircles it, and following this, you soon come upon an opening. Here the cypresses form an alley that leads up to the square mass of a building. Just then the drifting clouds obscure the moon again, and you pass along this path in darkness. Shivering from the cold and nothing more, you are sure, knowing that there is at least the hope of shelter up ahead, you grope your way blindly on. And then, suddenly the moonlight breaks through the clouds once more, revealing to you that you are not in a village, but a graveyard. The edifice ahead of you isn't a house, but a massive tomb of marble, as white as the snow that lies on and around it. With the moonlight, there comes a succession of long, low howls, as you might expect a whole pack of wolves to make. Impelled by some form of fascination, you approach the sepulchre. Etched in German into the lintel above the Doric door are the words, Countess Dollingen of Graz in Styria, sought and found death, 1801. On top of the tomb, seemingly driven through the solid marble, is a great iron spike, while on the back wall, graven in great Russian letters, you see, the dead travel fast. There is something so unsettling about this whole place that you start to wish you had taken the coachman's advice and stayed away. You feel the cold perceptibly grow upon you until it seems to grip you by the heart, and your whole body starts to shake from fear as much as the freezing effects of exposure. You start to back away from the tomb, moving towards the trees that mark the boundary of the graveyard, when the storm decides to unleash all its fury upon you. The ground shakes as though thousands of horses are thundering across it, and the storm bears upon its icy wings great hailstones that beat down both leaf and branch. We have a choice. Shall we run for cover within the trees, or shall we seek shelter within the sepulchre itself? Seek shelter in the tomb, or run for cover within the trees? Yes. Yikes indeed. Yikes. It's all trees so far. All trees. Squirrel, of course, wants to hide in the trees. A natural. And here we see the squirrel in his natural habitat, hiding up the tree, grabbing his nuts. Jean, what are you drinking tonight? You're always on a beer at the weekend. Squirrel Hermit's very protective of his nuts, so I hear. I'll pretend Zaturok told me. No, I'm not going to stir like that. Or am I? Skittles vodka for the first. Oh, Skittles vodka, right? My mum makes flavoured gin. Some of that's very nice. You definitely have to watch your nuts around Hungar. He will boot them. Only Palmetto wants to hide in the sepulchre. Everybody else says trees. So we hide in the trees. I'll show you some artwork when we get some. There's lots of lovely artwork in here. We just haven't had any of it yet. You rush to the nearest cypress, but find it affords you barely any shelter at all from the hammering hailstones, leaving you no choice but to run for the refuge offered by the tomb. Take an endurance test. I think they're 4d6. Just let me... Yeah, 4d6. I should have got my dice out ready, shouldn't I? But I didn't because I'm stupid and I'm ill-equipped. My little dice tray. Oh, I need to show you my new motherboard. New motherboards arrived today for the computer. Finally, I threatened the guy with a PayPal claim if it didn't turn up by the weekend, and mysteriously, it arrived today. Yes. Okay, so we've got to roll 22 or lower on 4d6. We should pass this. Yeah, 10. It turned up at work today. It's a refurbished one, and it's come with a processor. I believe it's a quad-core i5 processor that's on there. It can take 16 gig of RAM, which is what matters, and as long as it can support the graphics card, which is the GTX I've got down here, ready to go in, I'm absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. All I care about is it working. Okay, we passed the test. It's just that the one I'm using at the moment is an old dual core processor. I've upgraded it to its maximum of 8 gig of RAM. It uses onboard graphics, all that sort of stuff. So that's why it's so slow. The new one, that's a 4 gig graphics card going to go in. What before you sought to avoid, you now sprint towards, seeking shelter from the hailstorm. However, before you reach the marble mausoleum, you are struck by the full force of the icy bombardment. Roll 1d6 and add 1 and divide the total by 2. Okay, roll 2, add 1, divide by 2, rounding fractions up is 2. Deduct this many endurance points. Okay. Turn to 61. I will be able to run dual monitor. I need to get another cable. I've only got the one compatible cable for the connections that it's got, so I just need to order a cable and I'll be fine. But yeah, I'll be able to run dual monitor. I've got a couple of, because the kids had Xboxes that they don't use anymore, and they moved the TVs up into the loft. They aren't bothered with them anymore, because they watch television on iPads and on what they've got in their rooms, computers and stuff. So we've got about 3 spare monitors up there. These better than the one I use here, to be honest. But okay, reaching the deep Doric doorway of the tomb, you crouch against the massive bronze door, gaining at least some protection from the pummeling hailstones, for they now only drive against you as they ricochet from the ground or the marble walls. For now, try that again. Gaining at least some protection from the pummeling hailstones. For now, they only drive against you as they ricochet from the ground or the marble walls. But as you lean against the door, with a groaning of ungreased hinges, it opens inwards. The shelter of even a tomb is welcome in the midst of such a pitiless tempest. And you're about to enter when there comes a flash of forked lightning that lights up the whole expanse of the heavens. In that instant, as the darkness of the tomb is banished, you catch sight of a beautiful woman with plump cheeks and full red lips, seemingly asleep upon a stone bier. As the thunder breaks overhead, she stirs and rises from her marble bed. But you are not even sure that her feet are touching the ground. But how can this be? Surely to have been lying in a stone-cold tomb in a graveyard belonging to a village that was depopulated centuries ago, the woman must have been dead. But then, how is it that she can appear as fresh as if she has just woken from a sleep? Add 1 point to our terror score and tick off the code word succubus. Okay. There is artwork here. She suddenly fixes you with eyes that seem to burn red and glides towards you, her hair and gown streaming out behind her in the gale that has found its way into the sepulchre. Her pristine features twist into a demonic snarl, and speaking German, she shrieks, "Who would disturb my sleep this Walpurgis night?" And then, hands outstretched before her, reaching for you with fingers twisted into claws, she flies at you screaming, "No matter, you will pay with your life's blood." Right. We have an ability called the Pen is Mightier, and it's giving us the chance to use it at this point, which is basically gaining a little bit of plot armor. So, do we use the Pen is Mightier or don't we? Yes or no? Plot armor or no plot armor for this encounter? It's up to you. Of course, you come in when I say something about a woman with plump cheeks. I'm just going to show the picture again. There we go. Plot armor. Penis mightier. I hadn't noticed that before. Hello, Barney Fraggles. Carry on, vampire. It is nice art, isn't it? It is. Use the plot armor. Yeah, I think, yeah, let's try it out. Let's try out the plot armor. Okay. Cross off one use. We can use it 3 times. And turn to 131. Just then, there comes another blinding flash which strikes the iron spike surmounting the tomb and pours through it into the earth, shattering the marble edifice in an explosion of incandescent flame. You are hurled out into the storm as if you've been grasped by the hand of a giant and pulled backwards. For a moment, you catch the sight of the Countess, contorted in agony as she is lapped by the flames, and then her bitter scream of pain is drowned by another thunderclash. The relentless hailstones beat down upon you again, while the air reverberates with the howling of wolves. We lose 1d6 stamina. 6. Endurance, stamina, same thing. If you are still alive, yes, we are. We've got 14 endurance points left. Turn to 89. There are opportunities to recover endurance. Oh dear. Oh my word. Shaking with cold and shock, you struggle to your feet, but as you do so, you find yourself surrounded by a vague, white, moving mass. It is as if all the graves around you have opened and sent forth the phantom forms of their shrouded dead, and they are closing in on you. One of the ethereal spectres draws near, and you begin to make out details. A skull-like visage beneath the hood of a grave sheet, and fleshless fingers reaching for you. Add another point to our terror score. This is relentless. More. Okay, do we want to use the pen is mightier again? Yes or no? Pen is mightier? Yes. No pen is mightier? No. Just a simple yes or no. We're going to get Jonathan Harker killed really, really quickly. It's very, very nice line drawing, isn't it? Very nice. The reason I bought this was when I found out about Russ Nicholson passing away. I went to his was reading his blog, and didn't somebody in the Discord post a link to something else that he'd illustrated, something like that. But I found that there was a load of good illustrations and some interesting books listed, and I was it was Elfbait. It was Elfbait, and I wanted that. Was it the Krampus Night Before Christmas one, but that was unavailable, so I got this one instead. But I do think, yeah, I the artwork's great. The artwork is excellent, and you posted the Beowulf, right? Did Nicholson illustrate the Beowulf one? Is that what got us onto that? Can't remember. So we're not using plot armor this time, right? Okay, so that's the link. That's how we got there. Okay, I'll still have to get the Beowulf one, but this one just took my attention because I like this sort of thing. Okay, no, so we're not going to use the pen is mightier. Okay. Taking your stout stick in hand once more, you lash out at the phantom as it glides towards you over the icy ground. In this battle, the phantom has the initiative. Okay, so the phantom gets +1 on its attack rolls. We hit the ghoul as the phantom with our stick. First round, we are the red dice. They are the green and white ones. We have hit. If you manage to make a successful strike against the ethereal entity, turn to 2/3/3 immediately. Okay. You strike the spectre, but your stick passes straight through it, leaving nothing but a trail of clinging mist in its wake. You are incapable of injuring the phantom. Tick off the code word spectre. Okay. Add 1 point to our terror score and turn to 263. I'm not peddling any smut at all. We have a robust stick in our hand. It is very solid. It's not all over. The waking nightmare you have found yourself in is too much to bear, and you faint from shock as the spectral dead close in on you en masse. Gradually, there comes the vague beginnings of consciousness, then a sense of dreadful weariness, and slowly your senses return. Your body is racked with pain, and yet you find yourself unable to move. You are aware of an icy feeling at the back of your neck and all down your spine. But there is, in your breast, a sensation of warmth, which you find by comparison delicious, and yet also a heavy weight that is making it difficult for you to breathe. A wild desire to be free grows within you as you become aware of the low panting of some animal close by. Feeling a warm rasping at your throat, you come to a state of full consciousness at last and realize some great animal is lying on top of you and licking at your neck. You dare not move, but through half-closed lashes, you see above you the great flaming eyes of a gigantic wolf. Its sharp white teeth gleam within a gaping red mouth, and you can feel its hot breath, fierce and acrid, upon you. Add 2 points to our terror score. The wolf gives a low growl, and you fear for your life. But then, coming from seemingly very far away, you hear a "Helloa, helloa," as of many voices calling out in unison. Risking all, you raise your head and look in the direction whence the sound came. But the cemetery blocks your view. As the wolf starts to yelp, you see a red glare moving through the grove of cypresses, as though following the sound. As the voices draw closer, the wolf's yelping intensifies. Nearer comes the red glow, dancing over the white pall which stretches into the darkness around you. Then, all at once, from beyond the trees, there comes a troop of horsemen bearing torches. The wolf rises from you then and makes to flee, as one of the horsemen, who are soldiers judging by their caps and long military cloaks, raises a carbine and takes aim as the animal slinks away and a shot follows. Moving at a gallop, the troop rides forward, some towards you, others in pursuit of the wolf as it disappears amongst the snow-clad trees. Several of the soldiers jump down from their horses and kneel beside you. One of them raises your head and places his hand over your breast. "Good news, comrades," he cries in German. His heart still beats. Plot armor. There are some long reading sections in this. You know, a lot of the fighting fantasies have got lots of shorter ones, but this next one's another page and a half. So I always have a little look at what Wayne's getting nervous. Barney was hoping we had a +1 magical stick. Sadly, we don't. Quarterstaff of proficiency. That was something we mentioned the other night. Slan, it depends who's running the Call of Cthulhu session and what is being run. Yes, the puppy dog woke us up. Some brandy is poured down your throat, which goes some way to reviving you. Regain 2 endurance points. Opening your eyes fully, you look around. You see lights and shadows moving among the trees. And then the men who set off in pursuit of the wolf come pouring out of the cemetery, pell-mell like men possessed. "Have you found him?" you ask one of your rescuers. The reply rings out hurriedly, "No. Come away, quick, quick. This is no place to stay, and on this of all nights." "What was it?" It indeed," gibbers one of the new arrivals, clearly out of his wits. "A wolf, and yet not a wolf," cries another. "No use trying for him without the sacred bullet," remarks a third. "Serve us right for coming out on this night. Truly we have earned our 1,000 marks, declares a fourth. "There was blood on the broken marble," says the first. "The lightning never brought that there. And for him," he turns his attention towards you now, "is he safe? Look at his throat." The wolf was lying on him and keeping his blood warm," says the soldier, holding your head, who seems to be the least panic-stricken of the party. On his sleeve, you make out the chevron of a petty officer. "His throat is all right. The skin is not pierced." "What does it all mean?" asks another. "We should never have found him but for the yelping of the wolf." "What became of it?" asks the officer. "It went home," answers the first, whose long face is pallid and who is actually shaking with terror as he glances around him fearfully. "There are graves enough here. There are graves enough there in which it may lie. Come, comrades, come quickly. Let us leave this cursed spot." Several of the men help the officer put you on a horse, and he climbs into the saddle behind you. He gives the order to advance, and the hunting party rides away in swift military order. You ride through the night until a red streak of sunlight appears over the horizon and is reflected like a path of blood over the waste of snow. Reaching the suburbs of Munich, the soldiers come across a stray carriage into which you are lifted. The young officer drives you to the Quatre Saisons himself, a trooper following with his horse, while the others ride back to their barracks. When you arrive at the hotel, Herr Delbruck rushes so quickly down the steps to meet you that it's apparent he has been watching from within, anxiously awaiting your return. Taking you by both hands, he solicitously leads you inside, while the officer salutes you and turns as to withdraw. Okay, we have an option. Do we insist that the officer comes with us to our room so we might thank him properly? Or do we prefer to retire so that we might rest and recuperate after a night's adventures? So, do we want the officer to come with us to our room, or shall we retire for the night to recuperate? Up to you. Come with us or go alone. Thank properly. I insist. Thank him. Rest. Come with us. Imani being outvoted at the moment. Yes, invite him up. Become the incubus. Mage, are you the skull tonight? To say retire to our room and rest. Everybody else is insisting on thanking him properly. So far it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-3 now. 6-3. There are 13 in chat. It is possible for the vote to swing, but it's currently 6-3 for insisting on thanking him properly. Maybe he fancies some more brandy. Any more votes? I can't see no more. 3-2-4. (6-4). I always have a skull. Keeps my head flesh from folding in and keeps me my very important brain nice and safe. Fair enough. See you later, Wayne. Over a glass of wine, you thank the officer and his brave comrades for saving you. The Riesling is as effective and the Riesling is as effective a restorative as a good night's sleep. Add 3 points to your endurance score. The officer replies, saying simply that he is more than glad to have been able to help and that Herr Delbruck had been the one to take the first steps to make all the search party pleased. And that Herr Delbruck had been the one to first take steps to make all the search party pleased, at which ambiguous utterance the maitre d'hotel smiles while the officer pleads duty and withdraws. It's almost Gygaxian English. But Herr Delbruck, you inquire when the officer was gone, how do you know I was lost? The driver, Johann, came hither with the remains of his carriage, which had been upset when the horses ran away. But surely you would not send a search party of soldiers merely on this account? Oh no, he replies. But even before the coachman arrived, I received this telegram from the boyar whose guests you are. And he takes from his pocket a piece of paper, which he hands to you, and you begin to read. Bistritz, be careful of my guest. His safety is most precious to me. Should aught happen to him, or if he be missed, spare nothing to find him and ensure his safety. He is English, and therefore adventurous. There are often dangers from snow and wolves and night. Lose not a moment if you suspect harm to him. I answer your zeal with my fortune. Signed, Dracula. As you hold the telegram in your hand, the room seems to whirl around you, and if the attentive Herr Delbruck had not been there to steady you, there is no doubt in your mind that you would have fallen. The feeling grows upon you that you are in some way the sport of opposing forces, the mere idea of which threatens to paralyze you. You are certainly under some form of mysterious protection, for a message had come from a distant country just in the nick of time to save you from the dangers posed by snow, sleep, and the jaws of a wolf. Add 1 point to your terror score and turn to 384. Our terror is now up to 9, so we could do with losing some of this. Okay. Now then, there is something it said at the start. Whenever a section begins with a journal entry, we do something. Let me just check that. Okay. It means we've rested and the gap has happened and we can recover endurance points. Excellent. So we're back up to 23 endurance because 384, where we are now, begins with a journal entry entitled Jonathan Harker's Journal. 3rd of May. Left Munich at 8:35 p.m. on the 1st of May. Arriving at Vienna early next morning. The impression I had was that we were leaving the West and entering the East. We left in pretty good time and came after nightfall to Klausenberg. It is on the dark side of twilight when you finally reach your destination, Bistritz. Being practically on the frontier, for the Borgo Pass leads from it into Bukovina. It has suffered a very stormy existence, and it certainly shows the marks of the fires that ravaged the town 50 years ago. Following the directions Count Dracula relayed to your office before you left England, following Renfeld's return and the poor man's descent into madness, you make your way to the Golden Crone Hotel, a thoroughly old-fashioned place where the Count has arranged lodgings for you. You're greeted by a cheery-looking elderly woman wearing the usual peasant dress. She bows and says, "The Herr Englishman." "Yes," you confirm, "Jonathan Harker." The old woman smiles and gives some message to an equally elderly gentleman in white shirt sleeves who had followed her to the door. He disappears, but returns a moment later with a letter which he passes to you. "My friend, welcome to the Carpathians. I am anxiously expecting you. Sleep well tonight. At 3 tomorrow, the diligence will start for Bukovina, a place on it. At 3 tomorrow, the diligence will start for Bukovina. A place on it is kept for you. At the Borgo Pass, my carriage will await you and bring you to me." A diligence is a carriage, I believe. "I trust that you will enjoy your stay in my beautiful land. Your friend, Dracula." I don't think resting removes terror. There are things that can happen that remove terror, I believe. I'm just going to quickly go back and check the terror rules because they are new. Terror. No, it doesn't say anything about restoring terror, so I'm guessing we'll be told. Yes, a diligence is a stagecoach. 407 we go to. Your bed is comfortable and the town is quiet after sundown, but you still do not sleep well, for your dreams are haunted by wolves and worse. How many of the following code words have you ticked off? Superstition, suicide, succubus, and spectre. Well, yeah, all 4 of them. So, 468. The Countess returns to you in your dreams, screaming as the thunderbolt explodes through her. And as the echoes of the thunderclap die away, you hear the howling wolves from all around you. When you wake at last, you are left feeling badly shaken by your nightmare, no longer entirely sure how much of it actually happened to you and how much is merely a figment of your tormented mind. Add another point to our terror score and lose 1 combat point. Oh, joy. And now we turn to 498. I think we're into the meat of the book now. You rise early the next day and set about preparing for your onward journey. You learn that your landlord also received a letter of Count, directing him to secure the best place on the Bukovina coach for you. Do you want to ask him how all this was arranged? Ask the landlord and his wife what they know of Count Dracula, or shall we simply finish packing? So, arranged, Dracula, or finish packing. Those are your choices. Didn't Harker survive in the book, though? So, what's our chances? It does say we can switch characters whenever we want. So if Harker starts struggling, we can do. Oh, there were places where we're given the opportunity to swap characters. Okay. Okay. So we have to be told that there are places where we swap. We can start as whichever character we want, but then we reach places where we get the option to swap, which we haven't come to yet. So, ask about arrangements. 3 want to ask about Dracula. Pardon me. While you're deciding, make sure you click the like button. I'm great at shilling, aren't I? I'm great at shilling. No. I'll shill for other people's channels. If you've got a channel, if you're in chat at the moment, you've got a channel and you're not Mage's Musings, then mention it. I know we've had Crafting Gamer in. He's got a channel. Mage's Musings has got a channel. Anybody else with channels? Squirrel Hermit, he's popped in as well. He's got a channel. Anybody else with a channel? Just shill away. Elfbait, also Elfbait's channel. Do I feel dirty now? No. So 4 nice chaps with channels, all involved in chat at the moment. Elfbait, Mage's Musings, Crafting Gamer, and Squirrel Hermit. And if anybody else wants to promote a channel, just do so. 20. Well, Squirrel Hermit's channel is called Squirrel Hermit. Crafting Gamer's channel is called Crafting Gamer. And Mage's Musings is called Mage's Musings. So it's not hard to find all the early channels. 23 more subs and you reveal the next giveaway. Generously donated by the grumpy old Slan, who, when I reached 1,000, he gave away a copy of S3. Anyway, I need some more votes. Three have voted for Dracula. 1 has voted for arrangements. And 4 Dracula votes now, and 1 for arrangements. No other votes yet. Concentrate. Dracula. I've got some fake Dracula teeth somewhere. I should have worn them, shouldn't I? I'd have been talking like this all night. God, thanks. Okay. Turn to 552. Do you know Count Dracula? You ask. And what can you tell me of his castle home? At that, the landlord and his wife cross themselves, saying that they know nothing at all and simply refuse to say any more. What can be unnerving them so? Their unsettled disposition leaves you feeling on edge too. Tick off the code word Babona. Babona. And turn to 602. You return to your room to finish packing. Just as you're about to leave, the old lady visits you there and says in an almost hysterical manner, "Must you go? Oh, young hare, must you go?" She's in such an excited state that she loses her grip on what little German she has, mixing it up with some other language you do not know at all. I must go at once, you tell her sternly, for I am engaged on important business. Do you know what day it is? She asks, managing to compose herself a little. Do you want to answer the old woman's question, or will you shoo her out of your room? So, do we answer the question, or do we shoo her out of the room, having had enough of her histrionics? Babona. Bad boner. Answer, 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 shoo, shoo, answer. 5-2 then at the moment. 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 7 for answer, 2 for shoo. Oh, 1 for shoo. It was Straw Piglet answering twice. Shoo. All right. We'll answer a question. 636. Of course, it is the 4th of May, you reply. I know that, she says, shaking her head. But do you know what day it is? I'm sorry, I don't understand. It is the eve of St. George's Day. Do you not know that tonight, when the clock strikes midnight, that all the evil things in the world will have full sway? Do you know where you are going and what you are going to? She is obviously distressed that you try to. She is so obviously distressed that you try to comfort the old woman, but without any success. Finally, she drops to her knees, still imploring you not to go, or at least wait a day or two before heading off. Her reaction to you. Her reaction to you leaving seems ridiculously over the top and makes you feel deeply uncomfortable. After all, there is business to be done, and you cannot allow anything to delay you. I am on important business, you tell her. I must go. Realizing that you will not be deterred, the old woman rises and dries her eyes. She takes a small golden crucifix from where it hangs around her neck and offers it to you. Madam, please, you say. I am an English churchman. As such, you have been taught that such trinkets are idolatrous, and yet it seems ungracious to refuse an old lady who means well and who is in such a state of mind. For your mother's sake, she insists, offering you the rosary. Do we accept the gift or don't we? Accept or not? How about dressing up as Christopher Lee next week? If only I was 6'5" and angular in features, which I'm not. Hello, Master Blaster. I don't know who Sarah Lee is, Elfbait. I know Bruce Lee is. No problem. Looks like we're accepting the crucifix. 667. You submit and allow her to hang the crucifix around your neck. Record the golden crucifix on your adventure sheet. I have a feeling that will be useful. Sarah Lee is a brand of desserts. Okay. All right. Sarah Lee is just like Bruce Lee, mostly. Tick off. Oh, whether it is the old lady's fear or the many ghostly traditions of this strange un-English place or the crucifix itself, you do not feel nearly as easy in your mind as usual. Tick off the code word keresht. Okay. And turn to 687. You cannot tarry any longer. Your coach awaits, as does your client, Count Dracula. While the landlord and the driver take care of your luggage, you board the coach and take the only remaining seat, the carriage being quite full. The coachman has not yet taken his seat, and you can see him talking to the landlady. A crowd begins to gather at the entrance to the inn, and you become convinced the gossips are talking about you, for every now and then they cast pitying glances in your direction. You can hear a lot of repeated strange words. Do you want to look up their meaning in the dictionary you have brought with you on your expedition to Eastern Europe? Oh, we've got a dictionary, have we? Okay. I've noted that. So do you want to look up the meaning of the words that they are using, or shall we just settle for the doubtless long journey ahead? So shall we look up these words in a dictionary, or shall we just be ignorant? Ooh. Look at words and ignorance is bliss. Look at words. We're at 2-1 at the moment for looking up the words. 1 for ignorance is bliss. Which, of course, is the motto you should go by when playing Call of Cthulhu. Playing an Elf Bates Cthulhu game on Monday. Hopefully it's all still going ahead. It'll be the first time that Elf Bates won a game for us. Cheers, Mage. Off to do something useful. Look at words, dictionary. Yeah, okay. Looks like we're looking up words. Okay. 717. When you discover what the words mean, you can't help being reminded of the old adage, ignorance is bliss. For among them are Ordog, meaning Satan, Pokol, meaning hell, Stregoica, or Stregoica, meaning witch, Vrolok, and Vulkoslak, both of which mean something like werewolf or vampire. You're left wishing you had not bothered to seek or know the meanings of the words. You make a mental note to ask the Count about these dark superstitions when you meet at last. Tick off the code word Gonosh. Okay. I'm guessing these words are all in Romanian. And then to 747. By the time the coach sets off, the crowd around the inn door has swelled quite considerably, and the locals all make the sign of the cross and point 2 fingers towards you. You wonder what this gesture can mean. Do you want to ask one of your fellow passengers what it means, or do you rather not know? So shall we ask our fellow passengers about the gesture, or do we prefer not to know? Sure, Piglet doesn't want to know. Oh, 2-2 at the moment. 2-2. Leaning towards staying ignorant at the moment. 2-4. It's a foggy night. Therefore, I am making fog. Doesn't work very well, does it? Okay. We are at 4-2 at the moment towards ignorance. No more. No more. 802. The driver cracks the whip over the 4 small horses tethered to the traces, and you set off on your journey. But you will never forget your final glimpse of the inn yard and the crowd gathered around the wide archway, all crossing themselves. But you soon lose sight of the inn, and your recollection of ghostly fears and the beauty of the scenery as the carriage But you soon lose sight of the inn and your recollection of ghostly fears and the beauty of the scenery as the carriage bounces along the road travelling eastwards. Feels like there should be punctuation in that sentence. Before you lies a green sloping land full of forests and woods, and here and there steep hills crowned with clumps of trees or farmhouses. Everywhere you see a bewildering mass of fruit blossom, apple, plum, pear, and cherry. And as you drive by, you can see the green grass under the trees spangled with fallen petals. The road is rugged, but the coach seems to fly over it with feverish haste. The driver clearly does not want to lose any time in reaching the Borgo Pass, where you'll meet the carriage that will carry you to your final destination, Castle Dracula. The verdant, swelling hills eventually give way to forested slopes that rise up to the lofty steeps of the Carpathian Mountains themselves. They tower over the road, which is a little more than a rutted track, to left and right, as the afternoon sun falls full upon them, drawing out the glorious colours of the season, deep blue and purple in the shadows of the peaks, green and brown where the grass and rock mingle, and an endless perspective of jagged rock and pointed crags, until these too become lost in the distance, where the snowy peaks rise grandly. That's a very long sentence. 6 lines of text, all one sentence. Here and there you glimpse rifts in the mountains, through which the sinking sun highlights the white gleam of cascading waterfalls. As the coach winds on its endless way, the sun sinking lower and lower behind you in the west, the shadows of evening creep closer. Here and there you pass Czechs and Slovaks, and by the roadside you see many crosses and the occasional wayside shrine. As you sweep past them, your fellow travellers cross themselves. You've never known such a superstitious land. The temperature drops, and the growing twilight merges the gloom of the trees into one dark mistiness. In the deep valleys between the spurs of the hills, dark firs stand out here and there against the background of late-lying snow. Sometimes the way is so steep that, despite the driver's obvious haste, the horses can only go slowly. But he only halts the team for a moment's pause to light the carriage lamps. As it grows dark, your fellow passengers become agitated, urging him to hurry. He urges the horses on with wild cries of encouragement and his long whip, with which he lashes them mercilessly. Through the encroaching darkness, you make out a patch of grey light. The excitement of the other passengers grows as the coach rocks on its great leather springs, swaying like a boat tossed on a stormy sea. Then the mountains seem to crowd closer again on either side, and you realize you must be entering the Borgo Pass. One by one, several of the passengers offer you gifts, odd tokens and trinkets, which they press upon you with an earnestness it would be hard to deny. Shall we accept these gifts, or shall we refuse them? Accept the gifts or refuse them. Free loot, accept. Thief Keith wants to refuse. Everybody else is accepting at the moment. Thank you. Indeed. Merci. Danke. Schön. So it looks like we're accepting. We have a majority, I believe, there. Yep. 832. Is that the highest one we've looked at so far? I think it is. The items are a curious collection of lucky rabbit's feet, tiny silver charms, and mountain ash. But knowing that your fellow passengers are generally concerned for your well-being does help to allay some of your fears. Deduct 1 point from your terror score. And add the good luck tokens to the character sheet. And we have another code word. I can't pronounce this. Serenci. Nah. Zeren. I don't speak Romanian. I'm assuming it's Romanian. So we are down to 9 terror now. Okay. Turn to 117. Straw Piglet is bringing out the dad jokes. There's some long things to read. Long things. Oh, hold on. There we go. Artwork. Very similar to one of the pictures in Ravenloft in the way it looks. As the coach continues to fly along, the driver leans forward in his seat while the passengers on either side crane their heads, peering eagerly into the darkness. At last, the pass opens out on the eastern side. Dark clouds roll overhead and the air becomes heavy with the expectation of thunder. You peer out of the darkness as well, searching for any sign of the conveyance that is to carry you to the Count, expecting to see the glare of lamps through the blackness at any moment, but all remains dark. And then the driver brings the carriage to an abrupt stop, and you can make out a sandy spur road lying white before you. There is no sign of any other vehicle. Your fellow passengers draw back into their seats, sighing as if with relief. It would appear that the conveyance you were expecting to meet you here in the Borgo Pass to take you on to Castle Dracula has not turned up. The driver looks at his watch, muttering, "An hour less than the time." And then, turning to you, he says in German that is worse than yours, "There is no carriage here. The hare is not expected after all." He will now come on to Bukovina and return tomorrow on the next day. But while he is speaking, the horses begin to neigh and snort wildly, pawing at the ground with their hooves. Accompanied by a chorus of screams from the other passengers, a caleche, coach of some sort, pulled by a team of 4 coal-black horses, appears as if from nowhere out of the night and draws up alongside the coach. It is driven by a tall man with a long brown beard and wearing a great black hat, which hides his face from you, although his deep-set eyes appear to gleam red in the lamplight. "You are early tonight, my friend," he says to the coachman. "The English hare was in a hurry," the wretch stammers in reply. "That is why, I suppose, you wished him to go on to Bukovina," says the bearded stranger. Driver blanches, but says nothing. "You cannot deceive me, my friend. I know too much, and my horses are swift." He smiles, and the lamplight reveals a hard-looking mouth with full red lips and sharp-looking teeth, as white as ivory. You half hear one of your companions whisper to another peasant, "Denn die Toten reiten schnell," for the dead travel fast. "Give me the hare's luggage," says the stranger. and with startling alacrity your bags are put into the caleche. As soon as you're on board as well, the bearded man shakes his reins and the splendid coal-black horses turn, and you are swept away into the darkness of the pass. You cannot help but look back where you see your late companions crossing themselves before the coach driver cracks his whips, calling to his horses, and they are swept on their way to Bukovina. You feel a strange chill and an inexplicable feeling of loneliness come over you. A cloak is suddenly thrown over your shoulders. A rug is laid over your knees, and the driver says in excellent German, "The night is chill, mein Herr, and my master the Count bade me to take all care of you. There is a flask of Slivovitz underneath the seat if you should require it." Putting a hand under the seat, you find the flask. Take it out. Opening it, you sniff the vapors that rise from within. The smell reminds you of plum brandy. Shall we take a swig, or shall we put the flask back where we found it? Drink the Slivovitz, or put the flask back. So, feelings on the book so far. I'm loving the atmosphere. I'm loving the writing's good. Artwork's excellent. And it does have a sense of tension to it, though I think some of the passages are a little long for a stream. I'd much rather have two or three paragraphs per reading. And some of these are a little bit long, but still. Yeah, it is amped up fighting fantasy. Yes, it feels well written. Yeah. Drink, swig it, drink and be merry. Straw Piglet's not thirsty. Chug, as Father Jack would say. Drink. Arse, girls. Yeah, the atmosphere is very good. It's really, really good. It's good. Yeah, some are too long, but probably good if doing it yourself. Yeah, definitely. I'm very tempted to try and get hold of the other books in the series on reading this one. Very tempted. Certainly the Beowulf one and the Krampus one, if I can find it. I'll end up getting them all. Of course I will eventually. Yes. Just have to be careful with the pennies, because next week, the Games Expo. It does mean there won't be a stream next Friday, because I'm going to the Games Expo. And I'll no doubt be spending more money than I have. Always do. No need. I'm all right. So, are we drinking? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 say drink. 1 says no drink. Any more votes? I think it might be better read by someone who can do a German accent or a Transylvanian accent, because I can't do either. So if it was French, I could do French. Oh, thank you, Elfbait. More books. Yes. More books. All the books. You know what's going to happen to the stream now? I've just heard the front door go. That means the daughter's back. It's been good all night. So we take a swig. Vote Iman to do some readings. Iman should come and join me on stream and do the readings of all the accents. Yeah, I do need another dice. My dice bag is appalling. But I mean, I could treat myself to another one of those if she's there. Okay. The flask does indeed contain plum brandy, which warms you from the inside and helps to ease your anxieties. Do it, Iman. Do it. You'd need a copy of the book. Gain 3 endurance points. The flask contains another 4 measures of brandy, and each measure will restore 3 endurance points. However, if you drink more than 1 measure in one go, you must also reduce your combat score by 1 point for every measure you go over the initial one that you drink until after your next battle. You may also deduct 1 point from your terror score, but this is not cumulative. For example, if you drank 2 measures in one go, you would have to temporarily reduce your combat score by 1 point, but you permanently reduce your terror score by 1 point. But if you emptied the bottle in one go, you would have to reduce your combat score by 3 points, but would only still reduce your terror score by 1. Okay, right. I get that. Flask of plum brandy. And we have 3 more measures in it. 4 more measures. Now turn to 303. I haven't a clue how we'd go about doing this. You'd probably need to be reading a copy of the book at the same time as me, because I certainly don't have it in PDF. But we'll have to try and sort something out. What's your name on Discord, Iman? Oh, someone's just dropped something downstairs. I'll have to see what I can find regarding the book online. Your Fresh Prince 786. Okay, I'll see what I can find online regarding the book, and you're more than welcome to have a go at reading the accented bits. Okay. Okay. Soon you are hemmed in by trees, which in places arch right over the roadway. So it's as if you are passing through a tunnel. Great frowning rocks guard the track on either side. The rising wind moans and whistles through the rocks, and the branches of the trees crash together as you speed along. It grows colder still, and fine, powdery snow begins to fall. Soon the caleche, the driver, the horses, and you are covered in a white blanket. The baying of wolves cuts through the keening wind and sounds so close you wonder if the animals are closing in on you from every side. Suddenly, away to your left, you can see an inconstant light, like a flickering blue flame. The driver has clearly seen it too, for he brings the caleche to an abrupt halt, and, without a word of explanation, jumps to the ground, disappearing into the darkness. You are left alone, while the howling of the wolves draws closer. Do we want to disembark and set off after the driver, or will we remain where we are and hope that he returns soon? So, disembark and set off after the driver, or stay where we are and hope that he returns soon. The driver, howling of wolves. The driver has stopped and got out and run off. I don't know if PDFs of the book exist. I'll have a look. I'll have a nose around. Okay. It looks like everyone wants to wait here. 363. Another long passage to read. As abruptly as he vanished, the man suddenly reappears and takes his seat again, without a word, and you resume your journey. You can't help feeling possessed of an uncanny sense of looming dread. The time seems interminable as you continue on your way, now in almost complete darkness, for the rolling clouds obscure the moon. It would be painstaking. Yes, it would. You sense that you are ascending, punctuated with periods of quick descent, until you become conscious of the fact that the driver is in the act of pulling the horses into the courtyard of a vast, ruined castle, from whose tall black windows comes no ray of light, and whose broken battlements show as a jagged line against the sky. In the gloom, the courtyard appears to be of considerable size, and several dark ways lead from it under great round arches. The caleche comes to a halt, and the gypsy driver jumps down, holding out his hand to assist you to alight. You cannot help but notice his prodigious strength. His hand is like a steel vice that could crush yours if he so wished. He takes your personal belongings from the carriage and places them on the ground beside you. You are standing in front of a great door, clearly ancient and studded with large, blunt-headed iron nails, set within a projecting doorway of carved stone, although the carvings have been much worn by time and the weather. As you stand there awestruck, the driver jumps back into his seat and with a shake of the reins sets the horses moving again. Trap, driver, and all disappear into one of the deeply shadowed openings. You can see no sign of a bell or knocker upon the door, so you simply stand there in the courtyard in silence, not knowing what else to do. You doubt your voice could penetrate these frowning walls even if you were to announce your arrival. And as you stand there, you realize that this is the same place that Mr. Renfelt visited before you, an expedition from which he returned a broken man. Another long passage. You hear a heavy step approaching from behind the great door and see through the chinks the jaundiced gleam of a bobbing light. There is a sound of rattling chains, the clanking of massive bolts being drawn back, and a key is turned with a loud grating noise of long disuse. And finally, the great door swings back. Within stands a tall old man, clean-shaven, save for an extravagant white moustache, and clad in black from head to foot. He holds in his hand an antique silver lamp, the flame burning within, throwing long, quivering shadows as it flickers in the draught of the open door. He motions to you with an antiquated, courtly gesture. "Welcome to my house," he says, in excellent English, but with a strange intonation. "Enter freely, go safely, and leave something of the happiness you bring." You step over the threshold, and the old man moves forward impulsively. Holding out his hand, he grasps yours with a strength that makes you wince. It seems as cold as ice, more like the hand of a dead man than one of the living. "Count Dracula?" you ask. The old man bows in his courtly fashion. "I am Dracula, and I bid you welcome, Mr. Harker, to my house. Come in, the night air is chill, and you must need to eat and rest. Taking your luggage before you can forestall him, he leads you inside the castle. It is late, and my people are not available. Let me see you to your comfort myself. Despite your protestations, he insists on carrying your bags along an echoing passage, then up a great winding stair and along another great landing, on whose stone floor your steps ring heavily. At the end of this passageway, the Count throws open a heavy door, and you are delighted to see a well-lit room beyond. Inside, a grand dining table has been set for supper, while a great fire of logs flames and flares within the hearth. The Count puts down your bags, closes the door, and crossing the room opens another, which leads into a small octagonal room lit by a single lamp. Passing through this, he opens yet another door, motioning for you to follow. It is a great bedroom, warmed by another log fire, which sends a hollow roar up the wide chimney. It is a most welcome sight, for you are exhausted after your traumatic journey to the Count's home. The Count leaves your bags inside the room and withdraws, saying, "You will want to refresh yourself after your journey. I trust you will find all you wish. When you are ready, come into the other room, where you will find your supper prepared." It is past midnight. If you want to politely decline your host's offer of supper and retire for what remains of the night, then tell me, your host. But if you would prefer to have something to eat before retiring, also tell me, your geeky host. So, do we decline his offer of supper, or shall we go and have something to eat? Up to you. We have met the Count Dracula. And yes, he is a gracious host. Don't bless him. No, that wouldn't be a good idea. Bzzzt. Brave Sir Gecko is not living up to his name here, as he is not bravely declining. Stomach growls. Wolves growl too. It's only you wants to run away, brave Sir Gecko. When danger reared its ugly head, Gecko turned his tail and fled. We're having something to eat before retiring. Our host will be happy, won't he? Oh, we have artwork. I'm going to save the artwork for the right moment. The light and warmth of the Count's courteous... The light and warmth of the Count's courteous welcome has dissipated all your doubts and fears, and you realize that you are indeed half famished with hunger. Having made your toilet, you make your way into the other room. I've never heard that phrase, having made your toilet, before. Supper is already laid out. Your host is standing on one side of the great fireplace, leaning against the stonework. With a graceful wave of his hand, he says, "I pray you be seated and sup how you please. You will, I trust, excuse me that I do not join you, but I have dined already, and I do not drink wine." You hand him the sealed letter that Mr. Hawkins entrusted to you before you left England for Transylvania, informing the Count that you have recently qualified as a solicitor. As he digests the contents of the letter, you fall upon a most excellent roast chicken. This with some cheese and a salad and a bottle of old Tokay, of which you have 2 glasses. This is your supper, and you may restore endurance points, but we don't need to. When you've finished eating, at your host's behest, you draw up a chair and join him by the fire. Look at those fingernails. Powdered one's nose. He proceeds to ask you many questions about your journey, and you tell him by degrees of all you experienced on the way to Castle Dracula, while you study his striking long word. I think it's physiognomy, but there's a G in there. I didn't know physiognomy was spelt with a G in the middle of it. Physiognomy. Maybe I've just learned something. Well, you study his striking physiognomy more closely. His face is aquiline, with a thin nose and peculiarly arched nostrils. He has a lofty domed forehead, and he wears his hair long in the fashion of the boyars of the past. The mouth is rather cruel-looking, with peculiarly sharp white teeth which protrude over the lips, whose remarkable ruddiness shows astonishing vitality for a man of his years. It's physiognomy, so not physiology. So his ears are pale and extremely pointed. The chin is broad and strong, the cheeks firm, though thin. The general effect is one of extraordinary pallor. You also notice his hands, where they rest upon his knees. The nails are long and fine, cut to a sharp point, and curiously, there are hairs growing at the center of the palms. A horrible feeling of nausea comes over you, which you are unable to conceal. The Count offers you a grim smile, but shows off his protuberant teeth even more than before. Add 1 to our terror score. He sounds Scottish. He's a Vulcan. All right. To make a toilet means to dress yourself for dinner. I never knew that. I assumed, as did others, that it meant to empty one's bowels. You are both silent for a while, and looking towards the window, you see the first dim streak of the coming dawn colour the sky. From beyond the walls of the castle, you hear the howling of many wolves down in the valley below. The Count moves towards the window, his eyes gleaming. Listen to them, the children of the night. What music they make. Seeing the look of appalled horror on your face, he adds, You must be tired. Your bedroom is all ready, and tomorrow you shall sleep as late as you will. I have to be away till the afternoon, so sleep well and dream well. With another courteous bow, he leaves the room. You are lost in a sea of wonders, your mind awhirl with strange things, which you dare not even confess to yourself. You pray that God keeps you safe, if only for the sake of your dear Mina, back in England, so many, many miles away. Here, it gives us the option to continue the story as Mina, or shall we continue as Jonathan Harker? So, chat, Mina or Jonathan, you have a choice. Do we switch to playing Mina now, or do we continue as Jonathan? Up to you. We get all new stats if we switch to Mina. The only thing that stays is the blood score, which we haven't got any of yet. So Mina has all new stats. Yeah, we lose everything, but we will be somewhere else, though. I mean, I'm guessing she's still back in Britain. So, chat, Jonathan or Mina? We have 3 votes for switching to Mina so far. I'm going to go on for another 10 minutes in this stream. You want to stay as Jonathan. Okay. So at 3-1 at the moment. 10 minutes of this stream left. Yes, a lot of old-fashioned terms and phrases in this book, Slant, and it does. It suits it. It's just that I've got to look. I have to stop and read some of them because some of the words are a little unfamiliar. I mean, I'll this is that physiognomy word. Physiognomy. If you want to look it up, it's not a word I've seen before. I have heard the word physiognomy, so I'm wondering if that's just a spelling of it. Right. So it looks like people are saying as most people are now leaning towards staying as Jonathan. Because Jean has switched. Fifth Keith and Iman say switch, whereas other votes are now Shaw Piglet, Jean, Master Blaster, and Slan say stay as Harker. Well, right, okay. That's a new word. I'm guessing you Googled that, Jean, because that the spelling of that is bonkers. Physiognominona. Physiognominona. Physiognominona? Oh, physiognomy, noun. Physiognomy, noun, a person's facial features. You missed out spaces. I thought physiognomy, nouna. Oh, I'm getting tired. Just missing spaces. Is that where the term physog comes from? Because your physog is your face. Must be the origin of the. I know the word physog meaning face. Right. So we are swapping to. We're not swapping. Sorry, we're staying as Jonathan. Okay. I think there are plenty of places to swap in the book, so okay. Your sleep is disturbed by visions of skull-faced phantasms, wolves and women with skin the color of ivory. But you're able to rouse yourself from your nightmares. When you do eventually awake, you realize it is late in the day. Having dressed, you go into the room where supper was laid out the night before and find a cold breakfast waiting for you with a hot pot of coffee keeping warm on the hearth. There is also a card waiting for you on the table. My friend, I have to be absent for a while. Do not wait for me. D. You set to and enjoy a hearty meal. We can't gain any more endurance points. When you are done, you look for a bell to let the servants know you've finished, but you're unable to find one. There are other odd deficiencies in the house as well, especially when you consider the evidences of wealth that are all around you. Table service is of gold and so beautifully wrought that it must be of immense value. The curtains and upholstery of the chairs and sofas and the hangings of your bed are of the costliest and most extravagant fabrics. They must have been of incredible value when they were made, for they are clearly centuries old, although they are in excellent order. But you have not seen a servant anywhere, heard anything near the castle except for the howling of wolves. The other strange thing is that in none of the rooms is there a mirror. You had to get the shaving glass from your bag before you could either shave or brush your hair. When you were done with your meal, whether to call it breakfast or dinner you do not know, for it was between 5 and 6 o'clock when you ate, you looked for something to read to help you pass the time, but there is absolutely nothing within the room. Seeing the sun sinking towards the mountains through one window, you determine that the door by which you first came upon your suite of rooms is in the southern wall. Your bedroom lies through the door in the western wall, and opposite on the eastern side of the dining room is another door. And between these two in the north wall there is a fourth. Ignoring the way back to your bedroom, do you want to try the door to the east, the north, or the south? I think a map might be an idea here. So west was our bedroom. And this is the dining room. Okay. So east, north, or south? We can't go west. No. Back to Claire. Back to classic fighting fantasy choices. Okay. Looks like people want to go south. 3 for south so far. Beef Keith chooses something different. Goes north. So we've learnt a few new words tonight. Kalesh, a type of coach. Physiognomy, however you pronounce it, which is facial features and expressions that come from an ethnic origin. Thus, people have certain looks about them. You can, I can generally tell in our shop before somebody opens their mouth whether they are Eastern European or not, because there is a definite difference between the local Brits and we've got quite a high population of Poles over here, and they do have a certain, not all, but generally they do have a certain look about them. There's a Latvian guy who comes in our shop, and straight away I knew he was going to speak with an Eastern European accent. He talks to me about ice hockey all the time. He's a big fan of ice hockey. Physiognomy. So that you do pronounce the G. I'd never have guessed you were Asian, Iman. I would never have guessed. I mean, obviously your name might not be Iman Qureshi, but I was just assuming it was Iman Qureshi. The problem with the Merriam-Webster site is it's American. Unless they have the proper English pronunciations on there as well. I don't know. But, so are we going south then? Because everybody apart from Thief Keith wanted to go south. Okay. Turn to 451. This will be the last one I read tonight. So prepare yourselves, for I must sleep. Warily, feeling uneasy at the idea of going about the castle before you. Again, warily, feeling uneasy at the idea of going about the castle before you've asked the Count's permission, you put your hand to the door and push it open. Suddenly, Count Dracula is there before you at the threshold. Add 1 point to your terror score. Mr. Harker, he says, offering you a smile. As his lips run back over his gums, the long, sharp canine teeth appear more pronounced. Can I help you? His rank breath washes over you, causing you to recoil as a horrible feeling of nausea comes over you. I merely wish to explore your wonderful castle, you say weakly when you've recovered yourself, although the sense of nausea remains. Deduct 1 point from your combat score and turn to 533, which I will not do because we're going to end tonight on that little cliffhanger. So 533 is where we begin next week. I like this book. I'm saying now, I like this book. It is a nice change of pace. It's got a lovely atmosphere. Some of the passageways, some of the passages are a little bit long, but it is that's good. That's good. Excellent artwork. Well written. Well done, Jonathan Green. Well done, Jonathan Green, indeed. He wrote a number of the fighting fantasy books, one of which, Blood Bones, we have tried on the stream. He also wrote Curse of the Mummy, which I know I've got up in my attic somewhere. I haven't found it in years, though. So that's another one to try soon. But I remember enjoying Curse of the Mummy. I think that's a good one. But yes, it is good. Like this one so far. Like it a lot. Good value as well. Excellent value. Cost me £12 including delivery. So, or was it 15 including? It was 12 including delivery. So not too bad. A brand new book. Anyway, thank you all for joining in tonight. It's been a very pleasant chat, a nice change of pace, and a nice book to read. Have enjoyed it. I am a little tired after a busy few weeks, a few changes to my work shifts and what have you. I've got to work for a short while on Monday, only 10 till 1 though, so I'll be back 3 hours before the game, where we're playing an Elfbait's own Cthulhu scenario that he's written on Monday afternoon, which should be interesting. And you've managed to dig out your fighting fantasy books. Numbers 1 to 5, City of Thieves and Sword of the Samurai. Excellent. Well, get playing. I will do. Yeah, I mean, I think when we've died at least twice, I'll be able to review it then. But yeah, thank you, Master Blaster. Glad you've enjoyed it. And thank you, Iman. Thanks for being here and contributing. Elfbait. Yeah, of course we'll be kind, Elfbait. Of course we'll be kind. Well, I think it's the combination of me, General Nut, and Gingerbeard that really sort of combined to torment poor Saxius in that. So if you split us up, then you should be all right. But at least we're not playing goblins. There you go. We're not playing goblins. Anyway, cheers for the stream, all. I'm going to get some sleep. I have a motherboard to fit tomorrow, and hopefully it'll all be up and running in time to play some OSE tomorrow afternoon. If you want to play OSE, we've got 2 sessions. Gene's running the afternoon one, beginning at 2 p.m. UK time until about 6, half 6-ish, when we all have a break for dinner and whatever. And then I'm running the evening one. So 7 till about 10. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow. Maybe someone might gain a level tomorrow, because I know Slan's quite close. Yeah, of course, it is Call of Cthulhu. You can, it's a one shot. If we annoy you, you can kill us. It's a simple fact. Cheers all. Well, thank you for making this tonight's stream a lot of fun, and I'll see you all soon. Remember, there will be no Friday stream next week. I have to say that now. There'll be no Friday stream next week because I'm going to be at the UK Games Expo. I do apologize in advance. Sorry.